There are certain industries in Armenia that are competitive and certain industries in Armenia that are less competitive. So if I single out a couple that might be more competitive than others, IT is in the first place, then you have some tourism projects that might be interesting, and maybe some niche agriculture products that would be interesting. If we take just the first priority there, the IT and technology, we have a lot of qualified human resources that will gonna go into the market next couple of years. For example, we have Armat schools, we have 2 more projects. In the Army, they're starting doing more technology, IT-oriented things, which means if you look at historical examples elsewhere, that drives a lot of productivity, value add in the economy, and so on. So a foreign company or a local domestic company that would like to invest, what do they need in that sector? They need educated, experienced employees. That's the biggest competitive advantage you have in that industry. So if you have higher supply of qualified labor from that side coming in because of the educational projects, mostly private at this point, but also some public, then in that case, a lot of supply of qualified labor, lower continued comparatively low wages versus abroad. For example, our IT wages are much lower than wages in developed advanced countries, which means there's a very big difference in wage, which means that there's a lot of companies that can be very profitable if they invest here and export abroad.
First of all, I'm not sure it is better to do business in Armenia than abroad. I would say that Armenia has some advantages, and as we've learned, comparative advantage of countries is important. And so, for instance, the wine industry, the cognac industry in Armenia is an important one because Armenia has an advantage. So for producing wine, Armenia may be a good place to do business. Armenia also has a well-educated workforce and are hardworking people and all these things. And so there are various advantages that Armenians have. But I think the disadvantages are more. And so really, to look in a balanced way, there are more reasons not to do business in Armenia, including the small size of the market, including the bad relations Armenia has with its neighbors. Actually, it's blockaded by 2 of its neighbors. Armenia is landlocked, and Armenia's economy is not very advanced in many areas and is struggling. So actually, there's more reason not to do business in Armenia.
While doing business in Armenia, we have to take into account both the advantages and disadvantages that we have here. One of the main advantages we have in Armenia is that nowadays most of the businesses and startups are in the tech sector, and Armenia, as a former Soviet Union country, has a quite rigorous math background people here, and IT people are kind of the driving factor behind the tech startups and tech businesses. This is the reason a lot of companies are opening their branches and a lot of people are coming to Armenia to start their startups here. Second opportunity advantage is that being Armenian is kind of helping you to get the diaspora connections, and a lot of diaspora people are angel investors who are helping startups here in Armenia to grow. Like we have the Hive Venture Fund and many similar funds and angel investors are investing in startups in Armenia specifically. Of course, we have also disadvantages. One of the disadvantages that investors see in Armenia in terms of investing in businesses is that law enforcement here is like at lower level than at US probably. That's why when they make investment in US, for example, that's expected to be much more safer than the investment in Armenia. Of course, our political relationship with neighboring countries is also a factor, because doing business in Armenia, which is actually geographically specific, it is not online business, again is at risk considering our political situation. So some of the investors think it's better to start or invest in business in another country which doesn't have the same tense relationship with the neighbors. At the same time, I forgot to mention one of the advantages that we have, which is tax system. If you ask a lot of people, they mention the taxes in Armenia are terrible. However, to my opinion, we have quite nice policy regarding starting small businesses in Armenia.